If you are looking to build a new gaming PC and your budget is under $1,000, this video is going to be for you. I will show you 3 different gaming PC builds, all of them being under $1,000, and I will also explain to you what these systems are capable of running with the estimated gaming performance at different resolutions. That way, if you buy one of these systems, you know what to expect. All the links to these PCs will be down below in the video description. With that being said, let's start. With the first system, we have the cheapest one on the list for around $600, and for the CPU you get the Ryzen 5 5500, and then for the GPU you get the RX 6650 XT. This CPU and GPU combo will allow you to play at 1080p 80 plus FPS on average in most games, high to ultra settings with no issues. This is in my opinion a really great deal for 1080p resolution, and you can also play at 1440p 60 plus FPS on average depending on the title and the settings, but most games at 1440p are going to be more than playable, which is actually amazing for a $600 budget. And if you want to play easier to run titles such as Valorant, for example, you will be achieving 240 plus FPS on average, low settings, 1080p. So really good starting point, especially if you have around this budget. And for the rest of the components, you get 16 gigs of DDR4 memory, a B550M Pro 4 motherboard, which is amazing for the price, a 1TB Gen 3 SSD. Then for the case, we have the Magnum Gear Neo Air. I love this case because it's only $40. It comes with 2 pre-installed fans, and I also added 1 extra fan for you to put on the back. That way you get 3 fans total, and the airflow here is really good for the price with that front mesh panel, and you will have no issues when it comes to temps. And last but not least, the power supply, we have the Apivia Prestige 600 watt 80 plus gold power supply that's going for just $52. And the most important part is that your PC will not explode with this power supply, so that's everything you can ask for on a power supply. The total price is $610 when I'm recording this video. Maybe when you are watching this, the price is higher or lower, but as I said before, in terms of value, price to performance, this system is great. But if you have more money to spend, for $750, you can get a 1440p PC build or a 1080p very high FPS system with the Ryzen 5 5600 and the RX 6700 XT. The 6700 XT is about 12% faster in terms of performance than the 6650 XT from the last system. It also has more VRAM, which is going to be helpful at 1440p ultra settings on the latest AAA demanding titles. And on top of that, you get a better CPU in the Ryzen 5 5600, so you get better performance for both high CPU demanding games and high GPU demanding titles. On a 15 game average at 1080p high to ultra settings with high demanding games being tested such as The Last of Us Part 1, the 6700 XT was able to average over 100 FPS, which is a really high number considering we are talking about high to ultra settings on these type of games. And then on that 15 game average again, but this time at 1440p, the 6700 XT was able to average 74 FPS, which once again really high number for this type of resolution and this type of settings. Overall, a much faster system than the last one, and in my opinion is worth the upgrade, especially if you are willing to go up to $750. Then for the rest of the components, you get an aftermarket CPU cooler in the ID Cooling SE214 XT to make sure the noise levels are down and also the temps are going to be lower. Then we have the same motherboard, the same storage, the same case and the same power supply, but here you get 32 gigs of RAM instead of 16 gigs, which is going to be helpful if you want to do tasks such as streaming, content creation and productivity work. In my opinion, this is the best value system you can get in this entire video because you get a 12 gigs of VRAM GPU, really capable of 1440p resolution and also 1080p high FPS, and the price is very decent. And last but not least, we have the most expensive system for around $936 to be exact when I'm recording this video. You can get the Ryzen 7 5700X alongside the RX 6800 for the GPU. The RX 6800 has 16 gigs of VRAM instead of 12 gigs, which is going to be useful if you want to play at 4K resolution, but I would recommend this system for 1440p high FPS since the RX 6800 is an amazing GPU for 1440p resolution. It's about 25% faster than the RX 6700 XT, and on a 15 game average at 1440p, the one that I've mentioned before, where the 6700 XT was able to average over 70 FPS, the 6800 got an average of 93 FPS. Much better in terms of performance, and it's even a bigger lead for the 6800 if we are talking about 1080p resolution, where it's able to average 127 FPS when the 6700 XT is averaging 103 FPS. And remember, once again, we are talking about high demanding titles on high to ultra settings. If you want to play easier to run games, especially esports shooters such as Fortnite, you will be achieving more than 240 FPS on competitive settings, so that's nothing to worry about. And on this system you also get a better CPU in the Ryzen 7 5700X, which is going to be useful if you play more CPU demanding titles and for higher CPU demanding tasks such as video editing and production work. For the rest of the components you get the same aftermarket CPU cooler, motherboard, memory kit with 32 gigs of RAM, a 1TB Gen 3 SSD once again, but here you get a different case in the Fantex Eclipse G300A with better airflow, 3 pre-installed fans. It looks beautiful in my opinion, and I also added one extra Fantex RGB fan for you to put on the back, that way you get 4 fans and more airflow. And then last but not least, the power supply is a 750 watt 80 plus gold power supply that's A tier rated, so you get a really good quality unit, and you can also upgrade the GPU down the line with no issues to higher end GPUs like the RX 7900 XT, because this power supply is going to be able to handle more wattage. The price right now is $936, and if you want to keep this PC under $900, you can change the Ryzen 7 5700X with the Ryzen 5 5600. It's not going to bottleneck your system, the performance is actually going to be really similar, and you end up spending less money. But the 5700X is slightly faster, and that's going to be useful if you play CPU demanding titles or if you want to play shooters like Fortnite at 1080p on low settings. If you have a budget of over $1,000, then I do recommend you watching my video on the best PC builds of the month. You will have that one in the top right of the screen, where I talk about high-end 1440p and 4K resolution gaming systems. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.